The transmission came without warning. Across the skies of Earth, satellites lit up with a strange pulse, a repeating signal no one had ever seen before. Every nation's control room froze as the sound cracked through their speakers. It was not music, not static. It was a voice, heavy and cold, speaking in a language no human should have understood. Yet somehow, every listener heard it in their own tongue. The words were clear, sharp, and full of command. Kneel or be erased. Cities across the planet, people stopped what they were doing. Screens on buildings flickered. Radios hissed with the same voice. The alien message spread like a shadow across Earth. Panic began to rise. Crowds filled the streets. Families gathered in fear. Some shouted that it was a trick. Others swore the end had come. Governments held emergency meetings, but even leaders trembled at what they had heard. In orbit above Earth, telescopes pointed outward. They saw the truth. Massive fleets, ships larger than cities, were moving across the stars toward the solar system. Their formation was precise, their numbers countless. They were not explorers. They were executioners. The alien ultimatum was not a bluff. Humanity was being ordered to kneel. But silence followed from Earth. No reply was sent, not at once. The aliens expected a quick surrender, but the humans did not answer. Days passed, then a week. On the surface of the planet, arguments burned in every hall of power. Some leaders begged to submit, to kneel and survive. Others shouted for resistance, even if it meant extinction. For the first time in history, the nations of Earth had to face a single decision: stand together or die together. Far away, in hidden hangars and deep tunnels carved beneath the Earth and Moon, something stirred. Engineers in black uniforms walked between machines that no citizen knew existed. Soldiers trained in silence, preparing for a war no one had spoken about. Files marked with highest secrecy were unlocked. Project Dark Armada, long denied and hidden, was waking. The aliens watched, confident. To them, Earth was a primitive world, weak and unprepared. They believed humans still fought with fragile ships and crude weapons. Their fleets closed in, each ship armed with cannons that could crack planets. The galaxy had seen this before. Many civilizations had bent the knee, unable to resist. None had survived Defiance, but Earth was not like the others. Humanity's silence was not fear, it was patience. Deep under the oceans, massive warships detached from their cradles and began to rise. Their hulls were not silver or shining like the alien fleets. They were black, darker than space itself, built to hide in shadows. They carried weapons designed in secret labs, weapons no alien had ever faced. Still, the people of Earth did not know. Ordinary men and women only saw the news of the alien approach, the maps showing how quickly the invaders would reach them. Panic spread. Some prayed, some rioted, some refused to believe. Yet above it all, in control rooms beneath the planet's crust, admirals spoke in calm voices. Orders were given. The Armada was to prepare. Then the voice came again, louder than before. This time, it was not only a warning, it was a countdown. 5 cycles remain. Kneel or be erased. The aliens gave Earth 5 days. If humanity did not bow, the fleets would open fire. The United Nations gathered in a chamber where no cameras were allowed. Representatives shouted at one another. Some demanded surrender to save billions of lives. Others said there was no surrender, only slavery and death. Single question hung in the room. Did Earth have the strength to fight? Few believed it. But far beneath the surface, in a command bunker hidden under the Pacific, a screen lit up. On it, a fleet of black ships stirred. They had waited in silence for years, hidden from the eyes of the galaxy. They had no name in public, no history in books. They were ghosts, weapons built from fear of this very day. Their name was spoken, only by those who had built them. They were the Dark Armada. On the 5th day, alien scouts reached the edge of the solar system. Their sensors swept the planets, expecting only weak defenses. They laughed when they saw Earth's old satellites and small human ships. But as their scans passed across the far side of the moon, something answered. One by one, black shapes rose from the shadows. They moved without sound, without light, their holes drinking in the stars. Hundreds, then thousands. Warships of a kind no alien sensor had ever recorded. The alien scouts fell silent. Their laughter died. They transmitted urgent warnings back to their fleet. Something impossible was rising from Earth's shadow, something the galaxy had not expected. Humanity had not bowed. Humanity had hidden a darkness of its own. And now, as the stars filled with the black steel of the Armada, the true answer to the ultimatum was about to begin. The alien fleet drifted at the edge of the solar system, silent and massive. Their commanders waited for Earth's reply, certain it would be surrender. But the humans had remained quiet. Not a single word came from their governments. No broadcast, no cry for mercy. Only silence. And in that silence, something began to stir. On the dark side of the moon, the shadows moved. At first, the alien scouts thought it was an error in there. Sensors, space there seemed. Wrong. A flicker. A distortion. But then, from that black emptiness, shapes began to rise. They were not like any ships the galaxy had ever seen. Their holes did not shine with lights or reflect the stars. Instead, they swallowed the very light around them, moving like ghosts. The alien scouts sent warnings. Unregistered vessels detected. Origin unknown. Their commanders laughed at the report. Earth was primitive, they said. Earth was weak. But when more black ships emerged, hundreds of them, laughter turned into silence. And when the number passed thousands, silence turned into fear. Each ship bore the mark of design unlike anything the galaxy knew. They were not graceful. Were not beautiful. They looked like predators, sharp, angular, built for war and nothing else. Their engines burned with no visible flame. Their weapons glowed faintly like coals waiting to ignite. This was the Dark Armada, hidden from the galaxy's eyes for decades, waiting for the day humanity would need it. On Earth, citizens saw nothing. The news still showed images of the alien fleet, their ships blotting out stars.
Ow.
People wept in fear. Leaders argued on screens. But far above, the truth unfolded in silence. The Armada was not for public eyes. It was a secret born from human paranoia, from whispers that one day the galaxy would come. In command centers under the ocean, admirals gave orders. Activate shadow protocols. Prepare stealth wings. Do not engage until the signal. Cruise. Inside, the black ships worked without hesitation. They were trained for this moment, though most had never spoken of it aloud. For years they had lived as ghosts, part of a fleet no one admitted existed. Now, they would step into the light of war. The alien fleet still did not believe. They thought these human ships were decoys, empty shells, tricks of radar. But then the first of Earth's dark warships opened its engines fully. Space trembled. Its power signature was unlike anything recorded. Energy poured from a core not of fission or fusion, but something the aliens could not name. Impossible, whispered one alien commander. His claws tightened on the console. How did primitives build this? The Dark Armada began to move, forming lines of battle across the void. Yet their formation was not the slow and steady march of alien fleets. They moved like hunters, vanishing into shadow, reappearing with precision. The aliens, so confident before, now felt as if they were prey. Back on Earth, a final council meeting was held. Some leaders demanded again that humanity surrender before it was too late. But others, now hearing whispers of the Armada, stood. Taller, we do not kneel, one leader said. Not to them, not to anyone. His words spread through the room, sparking a fire in those who had almost lost hope. The countdown from the aliens reached its final mark. The voice echoed again. Across the planet, time has ended. Submit now, or be erased. Their fleets began to move toward Earth, weapons charging, beams of light sparking across the void. But then the Armada answered. Thousands of black ships lit their weapons at once. Beams of pure darkness tore across space, cutting through the alien vanguard. The first clash was instant, brutal, and shocking. Alien shields melted under the strange weapons. Ships that had survived countless battles were torn in half in seconds, for the first time in centuries. The galaxy watched a fleet fall back in fear. The invincible were bleeding. The unstoppable were being stopped. Inside the alien flagship, panic spread. Officers shouted over one another. These weapons, they bend space itself. Shields are collapsing. We were not warned. How is this possible? But no answer came. On Earth, news of the Armada finally broke. Images leaked to the Black Fleet rising from the moon's shadow, striking the aliens with a fury no one believed humans possessed. Streets filled with people shouting, not in fear this time, but in wild hope. The Dark Armada was real. Humanity was not defenseless. Yet victory was not certain. The alien fleets were still vast, still 10 times the size of Earth's hidden force. They were calling reinforcements from across the stars. What humanity had shown was strength, yes, but also defiance. The galaxy would never forgive this. In the silence after the first clash, a single thought echoed through both human and alien minds. The Deathworlders had revealed their fangs, and the war was only beginning. The battle began near Jupiter, a place where storms raged for thousands of years. But none as violent as what was about to unfold. Alien fleets moved in with precision, their ships glowing like stars, weapons already burning with deadly energy. They were certain of victory. To them, this was not a war, it was an execution. But the Dark Armada waited in silence. Its black ships floated like shadows between the moons of Jupiter. They made no sound, no broadcast, no sign of fear. Inside their dark hulls, human crews sat ready, hands firm on controls, eyes locked on screens. They knew what was coming, and they knew the world was watching. The alien commander gave the order. Erase them. Light tore across space. Thousands of beams struck at once, hitting the first line of human warships. Explosions flared, but then the impossible happened. The blasts vanished. Black ships absorbed the energy into their hulls, as if drinking fire itself. Where the galaxy expected wreckage, the Armada still stood, untouched. In control rooms across Earth, jaws dropped. No one had seen technology like this before, not even the humans themselves outside of secret projects. The ships of the Dark Armada were not just weapons, they were shields of darkness. Bending the alien fire into nothingness, then came the human reply. From the black hulls, lances of energy burst forth. They did not shine like light. They cut through space like blades of shadow, silent and sharp. Alien shields screamed as they cracked. The first alien cruiser split in half, its wreckage tumbling into the void. Another followed. Then another. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy's strongest warriors felt fear. The alien fleet tried to adapt. They pulled back, regrouping, forming heavy lines of defense. But the Armada did not fight like them. Human ships vanished from sensors, appearing suddenly at the enemy's flanks, tearing holes into their formation. Every strike was precise, every move calculated. It was as if the humans had studied the aliens for decades because they had. Reports flew across alien channels. Shields collapsing. Their weapons bypass our armor. We are losing ships at an impossible rate. The commander screamed for reinforcements. But deep inside, he already knew. They had underestimated the primitives. On Earth, the images reached the public. Screens showed alien cruisers exploding under human fire. Crowds that had once cowered now roared in disbelief and hope. Children pointed to the skies. Families wept, not in despair, but in pride. Humanity was striking back, but pride was not enough to win. The aliens still had numbers, and with numbers came power. For every alien ship destroyed, 3 more advanced. The void around Jupiter became a storm of fire, wreckage scattering across the moons. Some human ships fell, their crews giving their lives in silence. Even the Dark Armada was not unbreakable. Inside the flagship of the Armada, Admiral Rourke stood firm. His voice was calm as he gave the order. Hold the line. Show them what it means to face Earth. His crew obeyed without hesitation. To them, fear had already passed. Only defiance remained. Then a sudden shift. Alien reinforcements jumped into the system, warping in with a wave of distortion. Hundreds of new ships filled the void. Their weapons already locked on target. Humanity's advantage began to crumble. The Armada fought back savagely, cutting down the first wave, but the second pressed harder. Alien boarding pods launched, slamming into human ships. Hand-to-hand battles broke out in the corridors of the Armada, humans fighting clawed warriors in the dark. Blood stained the steel floors, screams echoed through coms, yet ship after ship held firm, refusing to break. Still, the alien commander smiled for the first time. They bleed, he said. They are not gods. They are only flesh. He ordered the next wave forward, and he was right. Humans bled. Dozens of dark ships now burned, drifting into Jupiter's pole. Thousands of lives were lost. But in that loss, something stirred deeper in the human spirit. The Armada did not retreat. Even in death, their ships fought until the last weapon was gone. One alien cruiser moved in close, certain of an easy kill. But the human ship it targeted rammed forward, engines at full power. The two ships collided in a blaze of fire, both reduced to debris. The sacrifice stunned the aliens. They were not fighting cowards, they were fighting Deathworlders. Across the galaxy, signals of the battle spread. Civilizations that had once ignored Earth now trembled. Messages flew through hidden networks. The humans fight the Empire. The Armada exists. The Deathworlders have awakened. The alien commander, furious, transmitted one final warning to his leaders. His voice shook as he spoke. This is no primitive race. This is a predator. If we do not crush them, now, we may never crush them at all. In the shadows of Jupiter, the battle raged on. Ships burned, wreckage drifted. The void became a graveyard of steel. But still, the Dark Armada fought. Humanity had drawn first blood, and the galaxy was watching. The news of victory near. Jupiter spread like wildfire across Earth. People filled the streets, shouting and celebrating. For the first time since the alien ultimatum, hope burned brighter than fear. Children painted the Armada's black ships on walls. Families prayed for the soldiers in space. Leaders stood before cameras, their voices strong. Humanity had struck. The enemy in the galaxy would remember it, but beneath the cheers, shadows moved. Not every human believed the Armada could win. In secret chambers, some leaders whispered of surrender. They feared the alien empire's true strength. They knew. The fleets that had arrived were only the beginning. Behind them, entire star systems of warships were preparing to come. Against such numbers, the Dark Armada might hold for a time, but not forever, and fear makes traitors. In one quiet meeting, a group of high officials sent a hidden message into space. They contacted the alien empire directly. Their words were, soft, desperate. We can give you what you want. End this war. Spare us. We will kneel if the Armada falls. Did not speak for all of Earth, only for themselves, but the signal was enough. The aliens listened. They smiled. The first sign of betrayal came not in politics, but in battle. Supply ships that carried fuel and weapons to the Armada began to vanish. Crews sent to deliver resources to the moon outposts never arrived. Some were found drifting, gutted from within. Others simply disappeared into silence. The admirals knew something was wrong. This is not accident, Admiral Rourke muttered in his command room. This is sabotage. Then the unthinkable happened. One of the Armada's greatest admirals, a man who had fought from the first day of the war, was found dead. His ships. Security feeds showed nothing. Cameras went black for 5 minutes, and when they returned, the admiral lay still on the floor, poisoned. The crew searched for intruders, but none were found. Panic spread through the fleet. Whispers grew. How could this happen? Who among us is the traitor? Back on Earth, Politicians argued louder than ever. Some demanded peace at any cost, even if it meant slavery under alien rule. Others shouted that betrayal was already happening, that human hands were helping the enemy. In the streets, rumors spread. People accused one another. Trust began to break. The unity that had been forged in fear began to fracture under pressure. Meanwhile, the alien empire grew bold again. Reinforcements poured into the solar system. Their ships were larger, faster, armed with weapons that even the Armada struggled to counter. They came in formations that blotted out the stars, air commanders confident that human unity had already cracked. The next great battle came near Saturn. The Dark Armada prepared its lines, thousands of ships waiting in the shadows of the rings. But when the order to engage was given, half of their supply lines failed to arrive. Ammunition ran short, fuel cells flickered empty, entire wings of ships stood silent, unable to move. Someone had betrayed them. Admiral Rourke clenched his fists as reports filled his screen. "We are fighting with half strength," his officers warned. "We cannot hold Saturn without resupply." Rourke's voice was calm, but his eyes burned with fury. "Then we bleed, but we do not kneel." The Armada fought bravely, their black ships striking with deadly precision. Alien cruisers fell in waves, yet for every ship destroyed, two more came. The traitors' work had done its damage. Earth's fleet was not ready, not supplied, not whole, in the middle of battle. Human-coded transmissions were intercepted by the Armada, but they were not from admirals or soldiers. They were from Earth's own leaders' secret messages begging the aliens to spare their cities, promising cooperation if the Armada was crushed. The crews who read those signals felt a cold fire in their hearts. Their own leaders were willing to betray them, to hand humanity over like cattle. The Battle of Saturn ended in chaos. Human ships fell back, dragging wreckage with them. The aliens pressed forward, gaining ground. For the first time since the Armada had risen, retreat was ordered. The enemy cheered, believing the humans broken. But Admiral Rourke swore vengeance. He stood before his surviving captains, his voice like iron. "We are betrayed from within, but we will not bow. Let the traitors kneel if they wish. We fight for Earth, not for them. And before this war ends, every traitor will answer to the Armada." As the Dark Armada limped back to regroup, alien fleets gathered strength. 10 times larger than before, they filled the void like a storm without end. The galaxy whispered that the humans had been brave, but their time was finished. What the galaxy did not know was that the Armada had not been crushed, it had only been wounded. And wounded predators are the most dangerous of all. The aliens believed victory was near, the traitors believed safety was coming, but both would soon learn the truth. The Dark Armada was not done. The retreat from Saturn burned in every human heart. The Dark Armada had not been destroyed, but it had been forced to fall back, bleeding from wounds it could not hide. Ships limped into hidden docks around the Moon and Mars, scarred and broken. Entire wings were missing. Thousands of families on Earth received the message no one wanted. Their loved ones were gone. On the streets, hope dimmed. Crowds that had once cheered now whispered in fear again. The Armada cannot win, some said. The aliens are endless. Others shouted that traitors in Earth's own governments had doomed them. Trust cracked further, just as the enemy had planned. But in the command chambers of the Armada, Admiral Rourke's eyes burned with something stronger than despair. He studied maps of alien territory, tracing lines of supply, noting the weakness that arrogance had left behind. The aliens believed the Armada broken. They thought humans were retreating to hide. But Rourke had other plans. He called his captains together. Their faces appeared in holograms, tired but unyielding. "We cannot fight their fleets head-on," Rourke said. "Not now. They are too many, but every giant bleeds. And if we strike where it hurts, the Empire will stagger." A new plan was born, the counterstrike. Instead of waiting for the aliens to come again, the Armada would slip behind their lines. Using stealth drives and dark engines, they would vanish from sensors, ghosting through the void. They would strike the enemy where they were unprepared, at their shipyards, their supply convoys, their command stations. It would be dangerous. It would be nearly impossible. but it was the only way. The first wave left silently. Black ships disappeared into the dark beyond Neptune, heading for alien space. For weeks, no word came back. On Earth, politicians demanded answers. Families begged for news. Some even said the Armada had been destroyed in retreat. But then, one night, the sky lit up with signals. The Armada had struck. Alien shipyards in the Tau Ceti system, once thought untouchable, were suddenly in flames. Entire factories collapsed into their own suns as human saboteurs planted charges deep within. Convoys carrying weapons to the front never arrived vanished, their wreckage left adrift in the void. Communications towers that linked the empires. Fleets shattered into silence. The aliens were furious. They'd expected Earth to kneel. Instead, they were bleeding, their proud fleets suddenly starving for supplies, back in their hidden chambers. The traitors on Earth trembled. They had promised the aliens easy victory, but the Armada's strikes proved otherwise. If humanity survived, if the Armada returned victorious, their betrayal would be uncovered. Fear twisted their loyalties again, but it was already too late. Meanwhile, the Armada grew bolder. Small victories became larger ones. A fleet of only 20 human ships ambushed 200 alien warships and left none alive. A squadron of black cruisers disabled an entire star fortress, vanishing before reinforcements arrived. The galaxy began to whisper new words. The Deathworlders cannot be predicted. Their shadows strike everywhere. For the first time in centuries, the alien empire felt the bite of fear inside its own territory, but fear gave birth to rage. The alien high command gathered in their throne world, their voices sharp and venomous. End this game. Bring the weapon. At their order, a secret project was unleashed. Cannon not built to fight fleets, but to kill stars. The weapon was aimed not at Earth directly, but at its heart, the sun. One shot and the entire solar system would burn. When the Armada learned of it, silence filled their command room. For a moment, even Admiral Rourke had no words. If the weapon fired, every victory would be meaningless. Humanity itself would be erased in light. But then his voice returned iron hard. Then we strike again. Not as ghosts this time, as thunder. The Armada prepared for its most dangerous mission yet. Their black ships would dive into the very core of enemy space, past fleets, past defenses, straight to the weapon itself. Many would not return. Perhaps none would. But if they failed, Earth would not live to see another sunrise. As the black hulls gathered in silence, crews stood at their stations, staring at the stars one last time. Messages poured from families back on Earth, goodbyes, prayers, promises. Soldiers clenched their fists, ready to burn their lives for their world. The Armada moved, slipping like shadows into the void, and in the heart of alien space, the Starkiller, cannon began to charge. The galaxy held its breath. Humanity had drawn blood, betrayed and battered, yet still unbroken. God. But now everything balanced on a knife's edge. The dark counterstrike had begun. The warning came too late. Deep in alien space, the Starkiller cannon roared to life. Its vast core glowed with unnatural fire, pulling energy from the void itself. Across the galaxy, sensors screamed. Every fleet, every station, every listening post felt the tremor. The weapon had locked onto Earth's sun, dot on Earth. The skies themselves seemed to change. A pulse rippled through the solar wind. Satellites went blind, sensors overloaded, and across the world, people felt an unexplainable dread. Children cried in the night. Animals went wild. It was as if the very star they lived under knew it was about to die. In the command room of the Dark Armada, Admiral Rourke stood still as reports came in. The alien empire was not trying to conquer Earth anymore. They were trying to erase it completely. They fear us, Rourke said quietly. They know we will never kneel. So they mean to burn us all. The Armada moved with desperate speed. Fleets of black ships jumped across space, engines screaming as they bent gravity itself. Every second mattered. If the weapon fired fully, the sun would erupt, sending waves of fire that would boil the planets alive. Humanity would not have minutes, it would not have seconds. It would be gone in an instant. As the Armada raced, Earth scientists watched the sun. The first blast had already struck it. A flare rose higher than mountains, lashing out with deadly heat. Solar storms ripped through space, battering satellites and stations. On the ground, the skies turned blood red in some places, deep black in others. Crops withered. Oceans boiled near the equator. Humanity looked upward and saw the end of their world's beginning. But still, the Armada fought to stop it. The first wave of human ships reached the weapons defenses. Alien guardians swarmed, thousands of warships in tight formation. The humans did not hesitate. They struck like daggers, cutting through the first lines, vanishing and reappearing with deadly precision. The void became a storm of fire, wreckage spinning in every direction. Inside one human cruiser, alarms blared as enemy fire tore across its hull. The captain shouted orders, her crew struggling to keep the ship alive. When it became clear they could not, she made her choice. With one last cry, she turned her failing ship into a weapon, ramming an alien battleship. The explosion lit the void brighter than a sunbeam. The path opened for others to push through. The Armada paid in blood, but it moved closer, closer to the Starkiller cannon. At last its terrible shape filled their screens. It was no ordinary weapon. It was larger than any fleet, built into an artificial moon, its surface crawling with towers and guns. At its heart, a glowing sphere pulsed, feeding off stars themselves. The Armada fired. Lances of shadow energy cut into the weapon's surface. Towers shattered, defenses burned. But the cannon continued to charge. With every second, the sun trembled more violently. On Earth, the second flare struck. Cities on the daylight side lost power. Heat waves rolled across continents. Millions huddled in fear. Radios carried a single message from the Armada. We are coming. Hold on. But then the truth struck like a knife. Data stolen from the weapon revealed its design. The Starkiller was not alien-made. Its core was human. It had been built long ago on a forgotten colony beyond the edge of known space. The aliens had not invented it, they had stolen it. The revelation chilled every soldier who heard it. Humanity itself had created the weapon that now threatened its home. And someone, somewhere, had given it to the enemy. Admiral Rourke's voice cut through the silence. Then we end this. Whatever its origin, it dies today. The Armada launched its final assault. Every ship poured fire into the weapon, tearing chunks from its surface. Alien defenders fell in waves, but the cannon's core only burned brighter. At the last moment, dozens of human captains made their choice. They drove their ships straight into the weapon, sacrificing themselves to overload its systems. One by one, their voices went silent. Explosions tore through the artificial moon. The cannon screamed as its energy ripped free. Then, in a flash that blinded sensors, the weapon collapsed in on itself. The sun shuddered, then slowly calmed. Its flares receded. Its burning eased. Earth had survived, but only barely. The Armadas. Survivors drifted in silence, their numbers cut nearly in half. Thousands of lives had been lost. And yet, humanity lived another day. But the revelation could not be forgotten. Somewhere out there, a human colony had given the aliens the weapon of Earth's doom. And now, as the fleets regrouped, one question burned brighter than any star. Who were these forgotten children, and why had they turned against their own blood? The burning sky had passed. But the darkest truth was only beginning to rise. Silence filled the fleet after the weapon's destruction. The Dark Armada floated among wreckage, half its ships gone, many more burning and broken. But the greatest wound was not the battle, was the truth uncovered inside the weapons. Core, the Starkiller had not been alien in origin, had been human. Admiral Rourke stood alone in his command chamber, staring at the report. The cannon had been forged in a place once called Helios Station, a colony thought lost centuries ago. Records claimed it had been destroyed by a solar flare, its people scattered or dead. Yet here was proof. They had survived. And worse, they had sided with the enemy. The crew whispered about it. Some called the Helios survivors traitors. Others said they had been forced, enslaved, broken, but the truth was unknown. Only one fact was certain. Humanity had enemies not only beyond the stars, but within its own bloodline. On Earth, panic spread as the news leaked. If other lost colonies existed, what else had they built? What other weapons waited in alien hands? Leaders demanded answers. People shouted for vengeance. Rumors grew like fire rumors that Earth itself might not be united anymore. The Armada could not rest. Broken and scarred, it set its course for the forgotten rim of space, where Helios Station had once stood. They would find the truth, no matter the cost. The journey took weeks. In that time, the soldiers felt the weight of ghosts. Every time they looked out the windows of their ships, they wondered how many more were out there. Were they brothers? Or enemies waiting in the dark? At last, they reached it. A system shrouded in dust and silence. Where records showed only ruin, a vast city floated in orbit above a dead star. Towers rose high, ships patrolled in grim silence, and banners unlike any Earth had known flew across the void. The people of Helios had not died. They had built an empire. Their ships moved sleek and black, far older in design than Earth's, but enhanced with alien technology. Their signals carried no warmth, no welcome, only cold commands. The Armada sent a message. "This is Earth Command. Come seeking answers." Reply came quickly, spoken in voices that sounded human, yet carried an edge of alien tone. "Are not welcome. Leave this place. You are not our kin." The words struck deep. Generations lost had turned their backs on their own blood. And worse, they had chosen to stand with the alien empire that wanted Earth dead. Still, Admiral Rourke pressed. He demanded to know why. The answer chilled every ear that heard it. "'Cause Earth abandoned us. When the flare came, you left. Us to die. We found strength in others, those you call enemies. We bent the stars to our will. Now we will never kneel to a world that forgot us," the Armada's officers argued. Some begged to strike immediately to wipe out the traitors, before they unleashed more weapons. Others whispered that perhaps Earth truly had abandoned them. Perhaps guilt lay not in the children, but in the ancestors who had left them adrift. But the debate ended when Helios ships powered their weapons. The forgotten children had chosen their side. They would not return to Earth. They would destroy. The first clash lit the sky. Human fought human. Though their ships bore different marks, their weapons twisted with alien fire. The void filled with screams and fury. Brother struck brother, each side convinced it was the true heir of humanity. In one brutal exchange, a Helios battleship rammed a human cruiser, both vessels shattering into flaming wrecks. Survivors floated in the void, their last words lost. In silence, Admiral Rourke clenched his fists. "So be it," he said. "If they have chosen the enemy's side, then they are no longer our kin. They are our greatest threat." But even as the Armada fought, one thought burned in the minds of its captains. If Helios had survived, if these lost children had risen in secret, how many more forgotten colonies were out there? And how many had chosen to sharpen their blades? Against Earth? The battle raged on, neither side willing to yield, and across the stars, whispers began. The galaxy had seen humanity's dark Armada rise. Now it would see them divided. The forgotten children had returned. They carried with them not only betrayal, but a promise. Earth's war had only just begun. The battle over the Helios system burned like a scar across the stars. Wreckage drifted everywhere, ships torn apart, flames licking the void, bodies frozen in silence. Humanity was killing itself, and the galaxy was watching. The Dark Armada had fought many wars, but never like this. Never against their own. Admiral Rourke stood at the heart of the flagship, eyes fixed on the chaos. His voice was steady, but his heart carried the weight of betrayal. For every enemy ship destroyed, another wave of Helios vessels rose. Their technology was twisted, fueled by alien designs, but their tactics were human, predictable, ruthless, clever. It was like fighting a reflection in a shattered mirror. The crew whispered among themselves. Some cried for mercy. "They are still human, sir. Maybe we can save them." Others shouted for vengeance. They chose their side. Let them burn. Rourke knew there was no middle path. If Helios lived, Earth would fall. The forgotten children had sworn loyalty not to their home, but to the empire that demanded Earth. Kneel then, as the battle raged. A message broke through the static. It was not from the enemy commanders. It was from the civilians of Helios, millions of voices crying out from hidden stations and underground shelters. Help us. They are not our leaders. We were never given a choice. The truth cut like a blade. Helios was divided. Its leaders had allied with the enemy, but many of its people still longed for Earth, still remembered the songs and stories of their ancestors. Rourke clenched his fists. He could not destroy them all. He would not burn innocent lives to ash, and so he gave the order that would define the Armada forever. Target only the warships. Spare the civilians. If the leaders must fall, so be it. But the people, we will not become butchers. The battle shifted. The Armada struck with precision, shattering Helios warships, disabling fleets, but pulling back whenever civilians were near. It was slower, harder, but it carried a message stronger than any weapon. Humanity was not just about war. It was about choice. Hours passed, and the sky grew darker. At last, the flagship of the Helios rulers emerged, a massive fortress ship, armed with alien cannons that glowed with deadly light. Its commander appeared on every screen, his face a mirror of humanity twisted by bitterness. "You cannot save them," he hissed. "They are mine. They chose me, not you. Earth is weak. Earth abandoned us, and Earth will burn." Rourke's reply was cold, sharp as steel. "No, they never chose you. You stole their choice. Earth will never kneel." The final clash began. The fortress ship unleashed storms of fire, ripping through the Armada's lines. Dozens of vessels fell, but the Armada did not retreat. They moved as one, their hulls blazing, their crews shouting Earth's oath across the combs. "We stand, we endure, we do not kneel." Rourke himself led the final charge. His flagship struck deep into the fortress ship's heart, shields burning, hull cracking, until at last they reached its core. The commander of Helios appeared once more, rage burning in his eyes. But before he could speak, Rourke gave his last command. "For Earth, for the future, end this." The Armada fired as one. The fortress ship split apart, its flames lighting the void like a dying star. The battle was over. Silence followed. Not the silence of defeat, but of something greater. Survival. The Helios civilians, freed from their rulers, sent a final message. "We remember Earth. We will return home." For the first time in generations, lost children found their way back. Not through force, not through conquest, but through the choice to stand together again. Admiral Rourke stood among his weary officers. His fleet was broken, but not defeated. The Dark Armada had proven that Earth would never kneel, not to aliens, not to traitors, not to fate itself. And so the story of humanity spread through the galaxy. The tale of the people who had been ordered to kneel, but instead had risen. The galaxy now knew the truth. Humanity was divided no longer. It was united by fire, by sacrifice, by a promise stronger than any weapon. The promise of the last oath, never to kneel, never to yield, always to rise. And with that, the Dark Armada turned its course back, toward the stars, not as conquerors, but as guardians, ready for whatever storm came next, because Earth's war was not the end. It was only the beginning.